This episode is brought to you by Audacia Capital. Audacia Capital is a leading fixed income specialist on the Irish Stock Exchange. Audacia Capital is known for its bold and innovative approach in the corporate bond space. For more information, visit our website at audaciaplc.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. This is episode 26. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you will join us throughout the season. Today we discuss the latest from the Premier League and have a chat about the England vs India cricket test and the big golf event in America. Glenn answers questions from the Evening Standard newspaper for his weekly column Ask Hoddle, which you can read every Monday. Well, Glenn, it was a great result for Manchester United at their city rivals on Sunday, winning by 2-0, and the tactics, they were spot on from Solskjaer.
Yes, they were. I mean, I thought it was the best I've seen United play for a very, very long time against good opposition. They obviously got off to a good start, didn't they, with the penalty, which puts you, on the front foot and gives you that belief. But no, I thought they tactically got it right. They pressed in spells, but they dropped off a lot of the time, and they're a very dangerous side on the counter, Manchester United, and they did it well. I mean, Man City, you've got to say, too many individual players had an off day. It happens in sport. They had an off day when United looked sharper and they looked like they were not up for it more. They were in better nick on the day, and you couldn't see any United player. If you go through that list of players that performed there today for United, not one of them was underneath 8 out of 10. They were all 8 and 9s out of 10, and Man City, to be quite honest, were probably around about 6 or 7 due to their standards they've set. So something's going to give sometimes. You can still win matches when you're not playing at your best, but probably not against good opposition like United were today.
These days, the coaches know each other so well, don't they? They know exactly what they're going to do. But do you think United surprised Pep a little bit that they pressed so high straight from the beginning of the game?
Yeah, I think it was evident they were going to press quite high early on, and then once they got their noses ahead, they did it in different spells. And they, when they sit back in there and defend deep, once they get through the midfield areas, Man City, United drop in deep, and I think Wan-Bissaka does a great job defensively today. He does it every time he plays against Sterling.
Yeah.
Top Sterling, and you just wonder whether they need to come up with something different. They've tried him out there against him all the time, and he seems to enjoy putting him in his pocket to a certain degree. So I was very, I think Foden came on and gave him more problems on that side than Sterling. So I'm surprised that Pep over the last few weeks, performances against Man United, perhaps play Sterling in a different position, play somebody else out there, maybe swap the wingers even. But no, I thought it was a really, really good performance from Manchester United. As I say, one of the best I've seen them all season and probably last season.
Sterling still hasn't scored against Manchester United. You've been around a lot of players in your career. Does that get into players' heads that they have favourite teams that they score against and teams that they don't score against, or is it just coincidence?
No, it'll get in their head. I mean, he'll deny that. He'll say no, I've not got a problem with it, but it will. It's in the back of the mind. It's in the subconscious, and it's like you say. Sometimes you go on the pitch thinking I'm going to score today because you've done it so many times against certain teams, particularly the strikers, they get that feel. But no, Sterling for Liverpool and for City, he hasn't managed to score. He's had a couple of good chances there today. And, that plays on your mind a little bit even more when you've missed them chances. So, it just wasn't Manchester City's day, and they've been fantastic this season. And of all the days not to turn up and have an off day, it was against their big, Manchester rivals, which they'll hate. But, they'll knuckle down for their next match that comes along, and that's what City are about.
You said on last week's podcast, even if Manchester City lose today, they'll still win the league, and I imagine you still believe that.
Yeah, without any shadow of a doubt. Too many of them had an off day together. You can get by with a couple of players having a bad game, unless it's a goalkeeper sometimes who has a shocker and lets two or three in. But no, I think you can't carry that amount of players that they did today. They'll bounce back. They'll be better in the next game, and I can't see anyone but City winning the league. They're 11 points clear. I can't see them throwing that away, and I think it's something now for Manchester United to really feel confident about that. The run that they're on, unbeaten away from home, is incredible, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think that'll give them mentally a lot of strength to go forward. And you would hope that would give them that feeling and that belief that they're going to be one of those teams in the top four.
We'll talk about Liverpool a bit later on. There's a question from one of the Evening Standard readers on that. But Fulham went to Anfield today and they won 1-0. What have you made of Scott Parker's work at Fulham this season?
Oh, it's been incredible. I mean, they started the season, if I remember, first game, Arsenal beat them 3-0 at home, and they looked all over the place. They looked really quite weak. And that's probably the lowest that they've ever played this season. They've slowly but surely got better and better and better and improved. I think his recruitment in January was good. Madja coming in has given them another little option. I think Anderson at the back has been outstanding. If he's playing for one of the top teams, the Danish defender Anderson, I think massive teams will be all over him in Europe and in the Premier League. So he's been outstanding. He really has. But no, it's been a great job by Scotty Parker. He's tactically, he had a real long spell where they suited the back three and the back five when they defend, and then they come out of that shape and they go and play. They played at home to Liverpool. Now, we're outstanding against Liverpool at home in the first half. Got a draw there, should have won it. And then he's gone into a back four. He's changed it. He wants to get another body forward. And that's worked really well for him at a vital time this season. So there's been a change in shape on occasions. And then up at Liverpool today, they went back to a back five and they defended so well. They were tactically excellent. The distances between each other were spot on. But what they've got that other teams down the bottom haven't got is they've got a break on them. They've got a counter attack on them. They can actually get up the pitch. And I must say, second half against Tottenham in midweek, they were excellent. And I thought they were very unlucky with the rule as it is, with the handball. That's got to be changed for next year. And the goal was disallowed. But at 1-1, you wonder where that game would have gone in midweek. And I think that gave them a lot of confidence to go up there. And it's probably at this stage, there's a few results have been a bit strange, obviously, for Liverpool, but you've got to look at it and say it's probably one of the best results of the season to go up there at this stage. I know Liverpool not, it's a strange one to say, but where they are under pressure in the bottom three, fighting for every single point they can get, to go up there and win it under them circumstances was magnificent. And I can see them now. They're the ones that can't wait to play the next game. There's a few teams down there at the moment in trepidation, but they're chomping on the bit. They cannot wait to get back out there and play against their next opponents.
I think you've already answered my next two questions. One was how Scott Parker tactically approaches the game. You said it's very good. He's going to have a long career in management, you would have thought, after what he's done so far. But he's working the market, getting Loftus-Cheek, Anderson, as you say, and young Madja as well. He's showing he can pick a player, isn't he, really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the recruitment side. He'll have help on that as well. There'll be delegation on that. But in the end, it's the manager and the owners and everyone that's got to decide who brings in, what player comes in, what player doesn't, and it's got to be given a lot of credit. I've already said what I've said about them players and the recruitment,
yeah.
And so, you've got to have an eye for that. It's not just about setting your team up and man management. You've got to have an eye for a player and what the tactics you want to play and who's going to suit that, and that's the art of management as well.
And he's really crawled themselves up the table at 26 points, now level with Brighton. Brighton have got a game in hand. Newcastle on 27 and Burnley on 30. So 4 points between Fulham and 15th. There's it's certainly, you can touch that now, can't you?
When you're in that bottom three like that and you're detached, all of a sudden if you're a fisherman, you're putting a net out, and suddenly they've caught Brighton in their net, and they've caught Newcastle, and now the net's got even bigger, and they're actually in touching distance of catching possibly Burnley as well. So those clubs now are looking over their shoulder, and they know, that Newcastle are well within their reach. So yeah, they've been fishing well this in the last few months. They've caught some good, some big fish, and I think they're extending that net to just bring in a couple of other clubs. I think there's a few that could have been down if they were a little bit lower down in the league. I think they've got enough on the board at the moment. The likes of Southampton and Palace and people like that. I think they're just about clear, but they've done a great job to, they were cast aside really in many ways. We did that a few weeks ago. I said the bottom three, I couldn't see them getting out. Only Fulham had a chance, half a chance, and they've taken that half a chance and turned it into a full chance. So credit to everyone at Fulham. They've been excellent.
And West Brom, they just draw too many games that they need to win now, don't they, really?
Yeah, I think Sheffield United and West Brom are, they're both, I think, gone. But they're going to be having to, there comes a stage where they've got to restart building for next year in the Championship. And, that's not far off, obviously, for Sheffield United. And I think West Brom are the same.
Yeah. So at the top, we're going to ask you about the top four in a few minutes. Another question that's coming from one of the Evening Standard readers. So if you want to have a think about the top four, that's pretty tough at the moment. Leicester got the win at Brighton. Of course, Chelsea play Monday night. Liverpool lost. Man United won. So they're consolidated second place there. Everton's still in with a chance of the top four as well. They play at Stamford Bridge on Monday. And our friends at Tribal Football, they want to know about Chelsea. Are they enjoying the new manager bounce under Thomas Tuchel, or has he made some meaningful changes of what you've seen since he's taken over? Unbeaten still, and not many. I think the only goal he let in, there's 2 goals, one at Southampton, one an own goal. That's all he's let in so far.
Yeah, he's done a fabulous job, I've got to say. And I think what he's done is changed it to a back three. Well, Frank Lampard and Chelsea play with back threes at times. He doesn't get them to play that much in a back five. It depends on the opposition and the status of the game. He's done it very well, so they don't get dropped off so deep like some teams get caught playing that system. But with the ball, it suits them down to the ground, and the strength and depth they've got in the squad. He's used that really shrewdly. I think he's been excellent in the sense of it's not been rotation for rotation's sake. It's been a very thoughtful process of who he's been playing against and what style of players needed as a wing back on that any given day, and what style of players in those 2 little inside forward positions. That's the key. That's the 2 key positions. The little inside forwards and the wing backs have been. He's really not rotated, but he's picked the right player for the right game. And you've got to say, the fixtures were pretty kind to Tuchel coming in Premier League wise, but they've gone away to Tottenham and won at Tottenham. They've gone away to Liverpool and won at Liverpool, and they've gone away and they've won at Atletico Madrid. Away from home, they're 3 fantastic results. And then they've backed it up with the teams that they're so-called on paper should have beaten. They have done. So he's done an excellent job, and they look a really, really good, good footballing outfit. They really do. And they look solid as well at the back. Thiago got pulled a hamstring, and everyone, he was playing some wonderful football in the back three for him. And at Tottenham, he pulled his hamstring, if you remember, and we haven't seen him since. But Christensen's come in and done a fabulous job in there. So, they've got such a strong squad there, and everyone's playing to that sort of what you're always looking for as a manager, getting individually 8 or 9 out of 10, and that then keeps your team performance up there at 9 out of 10. You win football matches if you do that, and he's got the balance of offensive football and defensive football absolutely spot on at the moment. So every Chelsea fan must have been a bit disappointed that Frank was sacked, I feel, but I think they've got to be delighted with what the new manager's done.
So he hasn't done anything tactically that surprised you. He's kind of just gone with the opponent and played against them instead of just keeping the same structure every week.
He's kept the same shape. That's the difference. Frank used the back three at times, and then he'd shift it back into a four and play a different system. What he's done, Tuchel has kept this system with the back three, with wing backs, with two inside forwards, whoever they are. He's got the right people to keep swapping them. You've got runners in there that can run off the ball at times, and then you've got others that want the ball to feet and they purvey the ball. So Ziyech and the likes of Hazard, if you like, when they played in there, they're not runners off the ball. But you've got Mount then sometimes plays. Hudson-Odoi plays in them pockets. Pulisic, they're runners. They're prepared to get the ball to feet, but they'll go in behind as well and make runs. And Werner if he plays in that role. So he's got some lovely little options, but he's kept that shape. He's kept a spine to the team, and he's built on that. And he's just shaped it here and there, and they're playing some brilliant stuff. They really are. They really are playing to go to Liverpool and just outplay them at this moment. I don't care what team Liverpool put out. They're always going to be a good footballing side and one that dictates them. But they just totally took the ball away from them at Anfield.
This episode is brought to you by the Lily White Foundation. We believe sport is fundamental to the development of young people, but sadly, many young people in difficult financial or social circumstances don't get the opportunities most of us take for granted. The Lily White Foundation supports projects that help children and young people take part in sports and activities. For more information, go to lilywhitefoundation.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Before we look ahead to next week's big London derby, Arsenal-Tottenham, there's a picture that you put up on Twitter that I've been asked to talk to you about.
Oh, yeah.
1982, coming out at Wembley. And there's you with a smirk on your face as you walk out behind Steve Perryman and Ray Clemens at the front of the line. And the banner that's at the back of the stands, right, it's quite a big banner. Yeah. It says, "Hoddle lays on more balls than Britt Ekland." What on earth? That is classic.
Oh, that is classic. That is a classic. Whoever thought that up is genius. And that's I think that coincides with the smirk that I must have seen as I walked out, because it tickled me. And somebody sent it to me. I thought you were going to. I put another one out this week with George Best taking a throw-in 1972, and I'm sitting on this little bench. When I was a schoolboy at Forms, that's where we used to sit. Right on the tiny little benches, right on the tarmac, next to the almost you could trip the players up if they took a throw in. We were that close, and there was a picture of me. I thought you were going to say about that one, because that was quite.
Oh, I'll have a look for that. Is that a? Oh, I can see. There you are. Oh, let's have a look. George Best taking a throw in. Oh, and there's you with the arrow.
Yeah.
You a ball boy there, are you?
Well, no, not ball boy. That's where we sat. That's where they put us. And I tell you what, Chris, it's absolutely. As a young kid, I was probably 13 there, and I was on schoolboy forms at training at Tottenham. But yeah. What a place to go and watch professional football from. Could you imagine? Wow. You're that low. It's almost like you're on the pitch with them. So you could hear every single word. Yeah. Imagine what you could have heard back in the day. I remember watching one night a game, I think it was a League Cup game, I think I watched Mike England and Peter Osgood for Chelsea go at it for 90 minutes. And the abuse that they gave each other physically and verbally was quite incredible for a young kid at 12, 13 to witness that and realise how physical the game was at professional level. As a young technical player, I was always trying to improve my techniques, left foot, right foot, and training was always great. Playing in my back garden all the time. I just wanted to play football. But it was fascinating to go and watch from that view and hear the studs clashing against the shin pads and the verbal and the physical side. It made me realise that, you know, to be a professional, to be a pro, you're going to have to live with that. You know, if not, you were going to fall by the wayside. And it was a fabulous place to identify and find out, you know, what it was going to be like to be a pro if you were lucky enough to make it. Unfortunately, I did, but it was great. That watching Best and Charlton when Man United come was fascinating. It really was. It was great. There was always a real buzz in the crowd. I remember back in the 70s when Best. Yeah. And Charlton and Law played, and Tottenham. It was a fantastic time.
United had a great team. I mean, of great players back in those days. They were just, you know, world-class players all playing together. They were fantastic to watch as I grew up around the area. If you want to have a look at these photos, go to Twitter. @GlenHoddle is Glenn's Twitter account. And there's a photo there. George Best taking a throw with a picture of Glenn and the 82 team.
With a dodgy pair of trousers on as well.
What's in...
Fight with me socks.
That hasn't changed, I think, when you go golfing. But I've got to find out who were Spinny Dynamos.
Well, that was my team that I played for on a Sunday. So I played on a Sunday, and it was Mark Leach who I played in that team with, who's a professional. He went into photography, and I've seen him on England trips, everything. You know, he's around the world. He made a career out of photography in sport. So he sent it to me out of the blue. He said, I just come across this in the archives, and he just saw it and sent it to me. So it was wonderful. And I thought, I've got to share this. I've got to put it out because it was so unique, the photo.
Well, good for you. And at this stage of the podcast, you know that people are now going to go on Google and they're going to be searching for Spinny Dynamos and who on earth was Britt Ekland? They're going to be looking. who's this Britt Ekland that you talk of? And they'll be there. They'll be find out.
Definitely know who Britt Ekland was.
Absolutely. Listen, it's Arsenal Tottenham next Sunday at 4:30. It's usually a massive game, isn't it? No crowd still there, but it's going to mean a lot for both clubs this year because Spurs, in regaining their winning streak, we don't know what's going to happen Sunday night. They play Sunday night, but Arsenal sort of came good and then, I don't know, drew a few games. How do you see this one going on Sunday?
It is a tough one to call. I think, Arsenal are improving and they just can't find that consistency. They're not the only club in the league, let's be fair. And Tottenham, they've got over the line with some easier opposition. Hey, look, Fulham tested them to the hilt second half, but Wolfsburg was a good time for 2 matches against them. Gareth Bale came in and started doing the business there, and then they've had some, they've had other teams to play from who were battling down the mid-table down the bottom. So it's been a good time for Spurs to get a few fixtures like that. I don't know how they're going to get on as we speak. They're preparing for the game tonight against Palace at home. They should, on paper, win that. So I think they could be going into the game. They've obviously got a tough game. They both got tough games coming up. I think, Spurs obviously have got Zagreb on Thursday. So whatever happens there, we'll have a little bit of a reflection on for Sunday. But Arsenal, it's a tough one to call, You can see either team winning. And then a lot of these derby games between Arsenal and Tottenham end up a draw. But it's not like it used to be, I've got to say. I don't know if I've managed to say this on the podcast before, but I've said it in other times when I do Q&As. But back in the day, when I was playing, I hate saying that, but back in the day, you had a group of sort of British players that came through from the academy into the reserves, and then so you'd battle against the Arsenal, in the youth team and reserves, and then you'd end up in the first team playing against them. And with all the foreigners now, it just doesn't happen. That feeling isn't quite there. The rivalry's there between the fans, and I think the foreign players come in and they understand and they know it's the the geography of it all is the derby, but it's not like it used to be back in sort of 80s and 90s when a group of players that played against and battled against each other for many years. That rivalry was massive. It was really massive. Like it is off the pitch, it was on the pitch. And, not particularly for the great technical reasons. I think there was a lot of games weren't particularly great games, actually, back in the day, because there was so much at stake. That's why there was quite a lot of draws as well, and there were quite fierce games, but very entertaining in many ways.
For our listeners who are 18 and over, we have teamed up with Bohemian Brands Football Vodka, where you can buy premium alcohol in your favourite footy team's colours. Click on the link directly from our podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and you'll be able to get a direct link to the Bohemian Brands website where you can choose the team of your choice. The bottles are a brilliant present for any footy mad friend or family member, so either click on our link or visit midnightuk.co.uk and go to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show page where you'll find more information on Bohemian Brands. Remember, 18 and over only, and please drink responsibly. Thanks. Let's go to the Evening Standard, the readers' questions for today. We've got a few of them in here. And Jay asks on the Arsenal theme, Arsenal keep making mistakes at every game, even senior players. Is that something Arteta can ever coach out of them, or is it just down to talent?
No, I think it's a bit of both. I think you can not coach it out of them, but you've got to make teams aware of where you're going over the line. When is there a risk where it becomes threatening to your goal? I think that's where modern day football, and it's great to play on the pitches and have the system and play out from the back, the new rule about, the ball not having to come out of the box, obviously for goal kicks, and playing out from the back. That's fine. That's great. It can bring on the game crowd. But there's so many clubs, not just Arsenal. There comes a time when is it a risk? When is it a real, genuine risk of your goal, of your own goal, being at threat? And there's a lot of teams, I've seen loads of goals this year being given away, goalkeepers trying to pass balls out from the back that have made. Alisson's done it for Liverpool, and then Ruddy did it for Wolves, and games get changed. And Arsenal did it the other day against, obviously, Burnley. But, there's nothing wrong in playing the ball long at times when it has to go long, when it's the right thing to do. So I think you can not coach it out of them, but you can make them aware as, no, hang on a minute, you're going over the line here now, guys. I don't want to take that risk that far, and you do that in training maybe when you have 11 or you on videos, you say, look, we got away with it, but I don't want us playing in those circumstances. That's too risky. We will come unstuck and it'll be a big game possibly. So that's what you do. That's where you work at it. You can't say A, B, C, that is exactly that, because things change on a pitch in split seconds. But you can, that's also comes a part of the thesis of just how you're going to play, how you're going to build up from the back, or are you not going to take them risks? And I see teams at the bottom of the league still trying to do it as well, and they overdo it. And that fascinates me, because I think, when you're down the bottom there, you're fighting for every point. Don't give your opposition an opportunity, really don't.
John asks, where's it all gone wrong for Liverpool? Can Klopp blame 6 home defeats in a row on injuries?
No, I think, yes, there's been 19 different combinations of centre-backs, which is a problem. Any club would have that as a major problem, because it's a very important part of the pitch. But you cannot lean on that. He's had enough time to, I haven't seen Klopp. I'm looking at Klopp thinking, hang on a minute, go with something a bit different. You're going to have to try and play a little bit different, maybe change the shape a little bit, maybe do something where you're going to, but they're just playing the same way. They're playing the same way that Liverpool played over the last 2 or 3 seasons, but with lesser players. Not because it's their fault. They're not ready. These younger players are not ready. These players are not real centre-backs. They're being put into positions. So, it's not their fault. It's just the process of where they are at the moment as pros. In years to come, that some of them would be excellent centre backs, I'm sure. But he's thinking, let's just play the same way as we've played, with the success. Yeah, sure. When everyone's fit, that's going to work, but not at the moment. The other thing for me as well is just slightly, it's human nature, and that's what happens when you've got the pride inside you that you just want to get the best out of yourself every training session, let alone every match. They've slipped off. They're not playing as if it's the last game that they're ever going to play on this planet. And that's the attitude that you've got to have sometimes if you're going to be a successful footballer and then a successful team. They've been successful, of course they have, and they've been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I see a team that are taking a few liberties here and there. I see a team that are playing a little bit too expansive. And this was early on in the season, even before they had the injuries. If you cast your mind back, Van Dijk, I get the 2 seasons mixed up now, but there was a couple of occasions, whether it was the back end of last season with the lockdowns, you get lost, don't you? Or is it where he gave a few goals away? The goalkeeper's done it. Alisson has taken liberties. I think Trent Alexander takes a few liberties with passes and things that, get back to the attitude of how would I play if this was my last game on this planet? The world was going to stop the next day. That's the attitude you have to have, and I'm sure they'll elevate their performance. So it's not just down to the injuries. There's a few reasons why they've got to, what's happened and what they've got to try and do possibly to get back on the horse.
Right, well, they're the 2 questions that we're taking for the podcast from the Evening Standard readers. The remainder of the questions and the answers thereto can be read online and in the newspaper. It's standard.co.uk/sport and search for Ask Hoddle. The column's out every Monday. And finally, just before we let you go, we talked about the cricket last week and how disappointed you were that it lasted 2 days. And then this week, we thought, well, here we go. They're not going to do that again. And Rishi has done another payday, 5 days pay, 3 days work. And he was sweating about it at the end, thinking, please don't go over to another day because it's going to take half an hour. I'm going to have to get up at 2 a.m. to cover this. No, a disaster, isn't it?
I've got to say that, that one, the second test was about the pitch. This was about, India's supremacy, really. Spin was fantastic. Their batting was although there was a key moment where you thought England had them at 6 for I think 150 or so, and you think, hang on a minute, England are in the driving seat here. Another, get Pant out, and he went on to get his century. So that's what you want in test. I don't, even that only lasted 3 days, didn't it, or whatever it was. It was a contest. That was my point. That was still a contest. It could have gone the other way. There was that day on that scene. If we'd have got another wicket, I think we might have been in the driving seat, and that could have been a completely different thing. But the spinners absolutely destroyed England, and our batting. We don't. You have to know how to play spin. I've played some cricket, but obviously not at that level. But you listen to the pros, listen to Straussy and things like that. We don't get enough experience playing against top class spin bowling. But they were credit where it's due. They were excellent. They were excellent with the way they bowled and batted. So credit to them. They deserve to win it, and they're the best team in the world at the moment.
All those late night cups of tea and biscuits saved up for the 1 days now, the T20s, I guess.
Yeah. England can take any team apart on the 2020s and the 1 days. We've got particularly 2020 games. We've got batsmen that can destroy as well as anyone in the world. So that would be exciting. I do love my cricket. I've been watching the golf as well. The Arnold Palmer. Lee Westwood is leading. That is wonderful. Amazing. He's come from nowhere. He was on the leaderboard the first day and he slipped off it, and I thought, that's a shame. We won't see him again. I turned it back on, and he was leading the tournament going into the last day. And fingers crossed tonight. I'll be watching that. I'll be glued to that later on after the Tottenham game. bit of dinner in between, but and then and then hopefully Westie could go all the way and win it. That would be special. It really would.
Well, he's 11 under as we speak. He haven't started his fourth round yet. It's one ahead of Bryson DeChambeau and also Corey Connors, both on 10 under. Jordan Spieth, he's back with 9 under. Yeah. Tommy Fleetwood on 8 as well. Bryson DeChambeau, have you ever thought of getting some of those milkshakes and boosting yourself up, Glenn?
I'm on them. I'm going to be on them. If it makes me go that far, I'll have gallons of it.
I couldn't hit the ball that far if it went into someone's car.
Exactly, yeah. I tell you what, that's the problem when you play. I mean, that's the thing I thought about that. I was wanting Westie to go with Connor because I thought it'd be less intimidated. It must be difficult. I mean, Westie's not, he's not short off the tee. He's not the longest though. He's steady. He's accurate. But at the end of the day, if you're playing with DeChambeau, it must be difficult. You're always going to be playing. Your second shot first.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to be, even if he's in the rough somewhere, he's going to be miles ahead of you. And that can be intimidating. So just hope that he's got enough experience, obviously. But hopefully Lee Westwood just steadies himself and he just thinks to himself, no, I'm just going to, literally don't watch him. Don't even watch him hit a ball. Just go and play as if he's playing on his own. Play his own game. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he can pull off what would be a fantastic win in that prestigious tournament.
Well, thanks. That's all for today. Just to let you know, next week we'll be releasing episode 27 on the Monday. That's March the 15th, slightly later than usual. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast platform to get the latest episodes as soon as they're released. Have a good week, everybody, and stay safe.
That's all for today. See you next week.